everyone. Welcome back to One Sustainability, our 2023 Global Sustainability Conference. Today, we stand at the intersection of commerce and impact, gathering at one of the world's premier platforms. As we navigate the pressing challenges of our era, this conference here on the One Business World platform is more than just a dialogue. It's a clarion call for action. Here, market insight doesn't just meet, but propels environmental foresight. Together, we have the power and the responsibility to shape the next chapter of global sustainability. We're joined now this afternoon. We're happy to welcome Arthur Zankowicz. He is the CEO of DAYLUN, and he's joining us today from Toronto, Canada, and his topic is Sustainable Construction of the Future. Arthur, welcome. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Glenn.
Welcome to our conference. We look forward to your presentation and your talk. So let me hand it off over to you, and we will take it away.
Awesome. I'd like to thank One Business World for the opportunity and sharing my vision of what construction is going to look like in the future. My name is Arthur Zankowicz, and I'm the CEO and founder of DAYLUN, which is a pre-engineered sustainable building materials construction firm. DAYLUN came about many years ago with my kind of eclectic background. I was a production designer and art director in film. In film, I kind of got my building chops on. I build a bridge and then blow up a bridge. We built a nightclub in 24 hours in the middle of the forest. So I really learned how to build quickly and efficiently. And that kind of translates really into modular builds and building off-site. My other background is in fashion, where in the early 2000s, in combating fast fashion, my company at the time started working with green technologies, and we were the first company to put recycled plastic bottles into polyester. So I've kind of been around the sustainable industry for a while, and now taking those two career paths has led me to construction and building, which has a lot of potential and a lot of room for improvement. The one thing that I like to talk about is the word sustainability. I've heard it in the past 3 or 4 years used a lot. Out of nowhere, everybody's pushing towards a sustainable, greener company, but I think it's lost sometimes on what it really is. And essentially, the dictionary meaning is avoidance of depletion of natural resources in order to maintain ecological balance, which is essentially, if we're going to build and use resources, we've got to replenish them. So as you remember, lumber went up in price a few years ago, and many people were calling for, let's chop down more trees. But as forestry explained to us, that if we chop down trees today, 20 years from now, we're not going to have anything. So sustainability, the word, really needs to be recognized for what it is, meaning that how can we produce things and still have the resources, and we can replenish things quickly, right? So in my presentation, I want to touch on what materials we can use, what building methods are out there, the challenges we face in the construction industry, trying to move forward and trying to get into the future. Out of all the industries I've been in, this is one industry that just lags behind and is behind in all aspects of this industry. So the one way we can one way they kind of put value to sustainability is with different kind of certifications. There's LEEDs, which is a great, it deals with, innovation. It deals with the air quality inside the house, with water efficiency, with energy to atmosphere. It even deals with if you're close to public transportation. So it's a really good kind of regulation. And I wouldn't call it regulation because you don't have to have LEEDs, but if you're using it, it's a great way to show that you're in that sustainability market. The other way we can show and kind of measure sustainability is with the life cycle assessment. And with the life cycle assessment, it's one thing if you have a product and it's, you know, it's green or sustainable, but what is the life cycle of that product? Can you upcycle it after? Can you recycle it? Is it organic? Is it biodegradable? If you're using something, you know, what did it take to get to your job site where you're using it? So these two are ways of measuring sustainability right now. But I think there's a lot more we can do. One of the things my company likes to do is, and it isn't really being talked about so much yet, is deconstruction. So we have what's called infills, where, you know, the houses that were built in the 50s and 40s are being redeveloped, and, you know, essentially you'd have an excavator come by and crush it. Well, it's important that we learn how to reuse and take some of the product that's in these houses and recycle or upcycle. Right now, 23% of landfills come from construction waste. So that's a pretty big number. A quarter of the garbage in your local landfill is from construction. So what can we do? We can deconstruct properly. We can regulate citywide to say that out of a certain percentage of the house that you knock down, X has to be used or reused. We can use product that is organic and biodegradable, meaning that we can take it, put it in the ground, and it's, you know, it goes back down into the earth. It has a life cycle that way. We can make product that you can reuse and reuse. With my company DAYLUN, we have product that you can unscrew and screw back together, which is the ultimate in deconstruction, because you can take down a house and move it somewhere else. So it's never wasted. We have what's called here in Ontario Habitat for Humanity. So, you know, some design and construction is turning into fast fashion, where I need a new door or I want a new look. So that needs to be addressed and needs to be somehow filled. And with Habitat of Humanity, they take in all those windows and those doors and cladding that they can put towards housing and affordable housing. So that is a big thing that we need to address in the deconstruction of the way we rebuild our houses. The next thing, the most important aspect is how we build. The one thing about the construction business is that we've been building the same way for many, many years, and it's not efficient, it's not sustainable, and it's not cost effective. And with our housing crisis and prices going up, there has to be a better way. The one way that we use, and it's the biggest trend, is modular build. Building off-site is turning into a big industry. It's going to be a $107 billion industry by 2026. We build cars in factories. There's no reason we can't build houses in factories. It leads to precision, less waste if you predetermine the size of things, and you can have things pre-cut, so there's less waste, which is, you know, a great sustainable factor. A controlled environment here in Canada, when it's snowing or raining, you know, guys just want to get home, right? And so things aren't done well. A lot of waste of materials, and things take longer. And in a factory, the factory that we designed, we can pump out a 2,000 square foot paneled house in about 10 minutes. And a lot of people are shocked at that timing. But if you think cars come off the line every 30 seconds. And, you know, how complicated are cars? Cars are very complicated, right? So there's no reason why we can't be doing this. And if we're doing this, the prices decrease and housing becomes affordable, right? So that is one big way of the future of building is going to take place, and it's the modular offsite build. The other thing that's come out in the market, so many years ago, it's still a new kind of process. It's expensive, but like anything in any technology, it's going to get cheaper and faster. 3D printing. So 3D printing essentially is like your printer at home, and it has a design and it spits out a concrete compound, and it kind of outlines the house and builds it, in a 3D way, which is, it looks like, lines and layers, right? And so this, I think, is going to be the future. Right now in 3D printing desktop, there are filaments that are wood. So in my fashion days, we'd be designing shoes, and we'd be going through molds, trying to get the right shape, the right design, how it works together. So each mold would be like $2,000. So before we got a shoe to market, we'd spend $20,000, especially when we're doing a high-tech shoe, in developing and designing and making molds, and it would take so much time in getting it to the way we wanted. But now with 3D desktop printing, there's EVA molds. It's the foam that's in your running shoe. There's TPU. There's different filaments that go into a 3D desktop printer that can reproduce the shoe probably almost 80% of what it is. So essentially we hit print, come back the next day, we have our shoe. So I think 3D printing is going to be a wave of the future. We just have to find the right composite, the right material to put into it that is organic or biodegradable. Right now it's using concrete, which has a carbon footprint to it. But once the system and the technology gets better, once we get the filaments and materials in there, it just makes sense to set up a printer and, here's your design. You design it in AutoCAD or Rivet, and out pops your house. And each printer head can have different material, whether it be, for your kitchen, for your washroom, for your exterior, for your insulation. So I think the 3D printing is something to look at and see how it grows in the next few years. This is something that I also experiment with. Here you have Tupperware. You might think, well, what does Tupperware have to do with housing? Well, Tupperware is done with thermal molds. And thermal molds essentially is, you've got a sheet of plastic, if you will, it heats up, and then out pops the shape of your Tupperware or whatever have you, and then you have the shape of your product. So essentially, that makes your shape and what you want. So into the housing market, we can make molds of houses or walls according to what you need. So ideally, you have the shape of your house, you push it through a thermal mold, and then your building envelope becomes completely enclosed. And anybody knows anything about passive houses or envelopes, that the building mold, the envelope is the most important thing to your house. And if you can have one solid shape, then you've answered all the questions as far as a passive house. So I think thermal molding has a place in the future of housing, and I think it will drive innovation in the next few years. The next thing I want to talk about is design of the house. So we've talked about the how to build, but the design. We have to rethink the way we design a house. It's, there's so much pressure put on architects to pump out a design, to get the permit approved. There's so much importance on engineering. The engineer wants to make sure that it's structurally safe, but we almost have to reverse engineer things. We have to look at the design and what we want to achieve sustainable, and then think of how to work backwards that it hits the structure, it hits the permits. So, one thing about design is making it green. we have now subsidies to put a green roof on our houses. The way we position the house, it's very important. So neighborhoods are going to look different in the future. We can no longer put up neighborhoods and have a cul-de-sac here and just arbitrarily place houses. There's going to be a fight for energy, and the energy is going to be the sun. So if we're building a neighborhood or designing a neighborhood, it's got to be done in a certain way where we position the houses that they don't impede each other with shading. They're done in a rectangle where the majority of the house is facing south. And so all the sun and the solar power hits the house, because this is what's going to be our energy in the future as we move more to a solar communities and solar power. It is going to be important how we decide our mapping and our subdivisions are placed, and it's got to be according to the sun. I think there are some neighborhoods that are testing this, but it's got to be done. And as our food supply and resources go down, we're going to be dependent on the house producing our food supply potentially. So the sun is going to play a big factor in the way we decide our neighborhoods and the way we build. So the way we build is very, very key. The way we position the houses is key for the future, that all the houses have exposure and maximum exposure to what's free solar power. The next most important aspect is the materials that go into the house are key for sustainability, as I talked about the construction and the way we constructing things. So to give an example, bamboo is a wonderful source that is replenishable. A mature bamboo plant grows full maturity in 6 years, compared to a pine or maple, which is 60 to 80 years. So you can chop them down, grow them. It's strong. It's lighter than some other woods. Here in North America, we have hemp, which is making a big impact. There's hempcrete now, it's called, and it's a mixture of a glue, a mix that we take the hemp and we can make concrete blocks out of it. It's biodegradable, it's strong, and it's sustainable. It's very easy to replenish. So you have to look at local forestry. You have to look at organics. And you have to look at biodegradables. One thing that I developed with our company is an EVA wall. So drywall is one of the biggest pollutants in landfills, and I just find drywall just nasty. Sanding it, breaking down. So my EVA is basically, we took what we put in the running shoes, the foam, which is stronger than drywall. We put a paper backing on it. It is 80% lighter than drywall, and it's biodegradable. So essentially, you can peel it off your wall when you're finished with it. You can put it into the ground, and it'll biodegrade. And I think it's a better product than drywall. It's lighter, stronger, and has the same properties as drywall. So materials is key for the future. What we use locally. Another great thing is that rammed earth. Now, essentially, you can take the earth around your house, pound it in, put in a mixture in it, and you have your concrete foundation. We have a vegetable glue that is completely 100% organic, that you can mix into any kind of ground earth that you have. It's got to be a certain size, pound it in, and our MPA or PSI strength is that equal to concrete. So by just taking the earth around you, you can start making your foundation. And if you looking at this picture, it looks beautiful. And so that is one way of taking your surroundings and what's around you and implementing it into your design. Now, no matter where you are, there are certain minerals and raw materials that you can use and figure out ways how to put it into your design what you have plentiful of it in your neighborhood kind of thing. These are important things to take into consideration when building your house and trying to be sustainable. The one big issue with moving forward and trying to get all these great ideas and trying to be sustainable and thinking of the future is the challenges. And one of the biggest challenges, as I spoke earlier, in the construction business is adaptation, the adoption curve, meaning if there's a new invention, it takes forever to come to fruition on the job site. And there's many reasons. One of the reasons there aren't more modular building factories is that every city in North America has different codes and regulations. You think about a car, I mean, besides California and their catalytic converters, and they have some kind of different regulation, cars are built pretty much standard. Houses aren't. Every city has a different code, and it's very difficult to build something massively and hit every market. So this is kind of what's impeding us, the regulation. Cities also demand one thing, but they have regulations stopping you from doing another thing. So I was explaining to here where I am, the city of Toronto, is that they have, for every house, for every tree you cut down, there's a fine. And when I asked the forestry department, why is this that? Because they said, well, Arthur, because of carbon footprint. And I said, you know what? We shut off all gas going to our houses. There's no gas. And I said, do you know what that equals as far as mature trees? And, they had no idea, but shutting off gas to your house equals 2,000 mature trees in your backyard. So there's kind of a disconnect between what regulation is asking for and what we can achieve. And I told the cities, let us come up with the answers. Tell us what your goals are, and let innovations and industry take care of how we get there. So I'm showing you an ICF here on the screen. An ICF is a wonderful product. It's simple, it's easy, it's on paper faster and cheaper to build a foundation with. So you basically build these Lego blocks, put it in, they all click together, you pour in the concrete, done. Well, here's the problem. When going about the city and asking all my foundation and concrete people, I said, look, I want an ICF foundation. 80% of the foundation and concrete people in my city do not use ICF. And the quotes I was getting are double that of just plain old forming foundation work. So where something is easy and more simple, and ICF, you could do it with 2 people. And when they set up the forms for a foundation, there's probably 8 to 10 people showing up on the job site. This is a big disconnect. It's kind of, we're set in our ways and we don't want to move forward. Something that's cheaper, faster, easier is not been adopted by the construction industry because of their old ways. So this is an issue, right? So getting it to market is one thing. Getting people to accept it in the market is another thing. I think regulation, education, and profit. If something is going to be cheaper and less expensive, eventually companies will take it on. So that's the big challenge we're facing with moving forward and being sustainable into the future. So how do we get over this hurdle? If you look at here, there's the cell phone and the house. Now, what are the 2 big differences between a cell phone and a house? Well, one costs $1 million potentially. The other one costs $500 to $1,000. Yet one has tons of technology, the other one doesn't. So there is so much room for innovation in housing. There's so much upgrading to be done. There's so much businesses that can be started with innovation in housing. There's no reason that our houses shouldn't work like an iPhone. The one thing that I always preach in my company is that let's come up with 2.0. You never hear engineers or architects who think of new designs or something they see or a clouding that they like or a color, the new trend, but never a new version. And I think in housing, we got to think like the iPhone, like the iPhone 11 comes out one year, iPhone 12. Everybody jumps and buys the upgrades because they want to have the latest. Why wouldn't you spend that on the most expensive thing that you're going to buy in your lifetime? And with our houses, we've come up with a lot of concepts. In the front of our house, we have this big architectural piece that looks just like an architectural wall, but really it's I call it the brain. And inside the brain, it goes from our basement to the roof. And it's kind of a new take on a mechanical roof. So all our batteries are in there. All our wiring are in there. All our water lines come in from there, right? And you can access it. It's easy to get to. Like I said, there's a ladder going from the top to the bottom. And it makes easy to upgrade and replace things. All our trusses are open trusses where I had a leak in my house and I cut open the ceiling. I fixed the leak. I patched it up. I looked up and I realized I had to paint the whole ceiling for it to match. Can you imagine if your car had a problem and it was welded shut and the mechanic had to cut open your hood every time and replace a part, weld it back together and paint it? It's crazy. So all my plumbing on my walls, so if I have a nice, beautiful porcelain wall in my washroom, behind there, the wall pops up so you can easily reach in there and fix anything you want. The ceiling tile, everything pops out. So if you want to get in there, replace it, look, and it's no problem. But this is the way we need to think. And this is why I'm always looking for new innovations, new investments, and new product, and always looking to upgrade my homes from one version to the next. And this is the way we need to think. And this is the way I think that the housing can be sustainable, faster, and more effective going into the future.
Very nice, Arthur. Very nice. Boy, talk about the future is now. Wow, what's some great stuff there. Great images, great discussion. You can certainly say, I mean, you with your background in film sets and fashion, you can certainly look to see where you cut your teeth on this as you moved into it. So some really talk about adapting all your skills. Outstanding. The modular build is an interesting idea. Doing it offsite, kind of in a controlled environment, right? And you talked about weather or all of those types of situations. How from a situation like that, again, you said very precise. Obviously, you can get all the certifications done and obviously cut down on waste. How flexible would you be with the modular piece there? Could it be like individuals' designs coming in and then you
Yeah, like I
there,
mean, we work
more,
in 8 to 12 foot sections, right? So it's really easy to make things customizable because you're essentially taking just, if I have a 12-foot piece and you say you want 13 feet, well, it's just that 1 foot that we customize and make. The exterior comes with cladding clips, so it's really simple to just add in whether you want aluminum paneling, whether you want brick, whether you want anything. So if you look at the skeleton and the shell, it's really simple. The exterior, you can make it look modern. Obviously, square is modern, so it's easier, or you can make it look ornate and put in copper roofs, whatever you want. But it's really essentially to accessorize. Just think of a car, right? You want to put a spoiler on the back, you put the spoiler on the back. You want to put a new wheels, you put the new wheels on, right? But it's the skeleton, the foundation and how you build it, and then just adding on the outside. It's just I made it so it's just a clip in place, really easy, whether you're doing masonry or whether you're doing cladding. It just makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, and you mentioned screwing and unscrewing the materials. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, the way I built it is I really made it dummy proof. I always
It's
made
almost
things
like
simple.
portable, you know, it's almost like portable. That's what it
Yeah,
sounds
well,
like.
that's the thing. Like we made these posts, and I have patents on it, but really, you just screw in the top to the bottom and put it together, and they're all walls, and we have steel bars that are going across. So essentially, you take it off, you put it on. The steel's they're going to be a lifetime, and then yeah, you if and there's I know overseas there's a lot of people who lease land, and so if they are leasing land, then they have to, they potentially have to get rid of the house. Well, with our system, you can take it down and build somewhere else.
Oh, no, incredible. Now you mentioned, found this really interesting as well. You mentioned, I've got a background in not-for-profit, so you mentioned Habitat for Humanity,
Right.
and having them kind of be the beneficiary of some of the recycled, reusable, upcycled types of materials from the deconstruction side. That what a great collaboration that could be. Talk about
Yeah.
putting old to good use, right?
Right. So like a lot of, we have a housing crisis here in Toronto. We need to build 1 million houses within the next 5 years because we have massive immigration, right? And so, and the housing in downtown Toronto is getting just unaffordable, right? So Habitat Humanity does a great job of filling and producing houses that are affordable. We like to for every 10 houses we build houses we're doing a project in the Yukon where and it's a pilot project where there's 10 homeless people in this little town, and so we're building with the government. We're building homeless housing, right? And we're making it the same way we build a $4 million house. We're building those houses. So structurally, it's the same. Insulation, it's the same. And it's a passive house where you can just light a candle and the room will stay warm. So we feel we have our company feels that everybody should have a roof over their head. It should be affordable, and not only that, we shouldn't have bills. We shouldn't have gas bills that are fluctuate. With the way we build, we're trying to build houses off grid, and we're getting a lot of pushback. Here in Toronto, I called up the gas company when we bought a piece of property and said, I want it disconnected. You have to open an account. I said, I don't want an open account because I don't want gas. And they said, no, you have to open an account. I opened an account with them to disconnect it. They charged me $1,500, right? So
amazing.
yeah, so I mean, there's a big pushback, and not only that, but they control the rebates, which I think is another issue. Is that so? If you want new windows and upgrade your windows, you do it through the gas company, which to me completely is a disconnect, right? So by working with Habitat Humanity, it just feels good to build houses that people don't have to worry about the power. People don't have to worry about those kind of bills, and it's greener, it's sustainable, and it's the way we need to build, and it's going to be hopefully the way we think in the future.
I've been to Toronto now twice. Let's call it the last 12 years, maybe 13 years. And I remember the second time coming back, noticing what you had said about the downtown area. I was over by the Fairmont, right by Union Station. Right. That second time, and I remember it's like everything towards the lake is now filled in. Skyscrapers, it was like the Big Dig. Everything was going up over that period of time, and then coming back, it's like, wow, it's finished. Look at that, and they were still doing more and more construction. It was so busy.
Yeah, well, now what the government has done is that they used to really regulate if you build something in your backyard, like a shed, right? But now they said if you have an X amount of square footage on your property, you can have 3 units. They're calling them laneway houses, and they're calling them garden houses. So you can actually build another house on your property if you have the space, and sell it, rent it out, because there's such a housing shortage.
Gives a whole new meaning to mother-daughter. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
as it comes down, the design piece and where you build, you had that up, I think, as your second point. That's really interesting too, because you think about your neighbors, right? You think about we're all in this together, right? Kind of a community. And the fact that you've got the sensitivity to realize that, you know what, if we're all going to have that sustainable mindset, we all have to kind of share the energy. I thought that was a fascinating concept with the way you position the house, make sure, you know, you're not blocking somebody else's view, right, of the sun or something like that from an energy source standpoint. What a fascinating way to design or master build, if you think of it from a neighborhood.
Well, the funny thing is, we have regulation right now. It's called shading. So if you build let's say a condo on a main street, it's got to be tiered back, and it's just so you don't shade the street. But you know, which is okay, great. But if you really think about it, if people are fighting, you know, and cost of power and energy is going to go up, yeah, you'll have a fight on your hands if everybody's depending on solar, and this person builds something and is on your south side and blocks your sun, then you've got to pay while he's absorbing all the energy, and you have to pay for your energy. Then yeah, it's going to become a problem, right? And there's going to be fights, and people are going to, right now people are saying, you're blocking my view, but in the future there's going to be, you know, neighborhood fights, not over fences, but over, you know, their sun shading, right? So people aren't thinking about right now, right? So
makes perfect sense. Well, listen, Arthur, thank you, and thank you also for putting up the definition. That I think that's important, and it's certainly
it's being used, thrown around, but people are just don't realize what it is.
It's depletion of natural resources, right, in order to maintain an ecological balance, the avoidance of. So yeah, absolutely. No, that and all your good work here with DAYLUN certainly fits into that category. So we thank you for your time today. Thank you for the observations and a terrific presentation, and for and being a contributor here to One Sustainability.
Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate it.
All right. We will see you next time. Please let us know if we can be of help, and please stay in touch.
Sounds good. Take care.
All right, Arthur. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.